Good morning, everybody. Here on yet another morning walk. Grateful to woken up, see another day. Still see, still hear, still smell, still be able to speak. It's the little things that you take for granted. I did that for a long time. And it's crazy how much it changes your energy when you appreciate those things, and also when you speak, like I said, and say those things out loud. Thank you, God, for this day. Thank you, God, for the blessings that you've given me and everything like that. And, even being able to meet my wake-up time, I think is key as well. Like I said, that's one of the habits I'm most proud of. I've been able to maintain that for a year now. Even at one point when I was on vacation, I slept 45 minutes. And this was, you may be asking yourself, why would you go to bed at 4 a.m.? This was in April. I was on vacation. And at that point, I was still playing around a little bit with the devil. And, at a club, there was no vices. Obviously, I didn't drink or do drugs or anything. But I had met somebody, and I was with friends. And I was experimenting and seeing what it was to go, but I didn't really enjoy it. And even yesterday, obviously I was a big fan of the music, but just the whole atmosphere there it's almost like a way to escape. And that's something I've seen that is where that really takes a hold of you. There is a big difference between going somewhere to enjoy it and going somewhere to escape. And I was able to see that many were there to escape. Alcohol, the biggest escape probably ever. Drugs, there's people really on drugs there, but alcohol and how it numbs you from your reality. I've never been one to drink alcohol that much, thankfully, but drugs was mine. And I was using festivals or music events as an excuse to take these drugs and essentially alter your reality. And that's just saying to God or to yourself, really, your subconscious mind, that whatever you're seeing right now is not adequate enough, and you think it's basically on gratitude, like not being grateful, because whatever reality you're seeing, you're just telling yourself that it's not sufficient. You want to escape it. But when I decided that, or made the switch that every moment is perfect, no matter if you choose to see it or not, that's when things begin to change. Like I said, using gratitude is the biggest tool. I didn't have that before. That's why I was always trying to escape and, just working to make money, then travel as much as I could, or basically lose myself in women, in parties, in drugs as well. And it's all just an escape mechanism. And people say, oh, it's fun, like just, balance. But you're literally escaping your reality. Whatever you're feeling or seeing in front of you, or God is, choosing for you to experience right now, because it's meant to happen that way. Your story is literally perfect in every sense, as long as you're doing the right habits. But like I said, if you're escaping, then you're not getting the picture, the bigger picture of what's happening in reality. You have to learn to operate and be grateful no matter what's happening. If you're, let's say, doing a job you don't like right now, or in a relationship you don't like, or something's happening, you have to basically find joy in riding that moment out. It's like riding the wave that God is giving you and not going against it, because that's when things start to go bad. And that is when I, had to turn. I made a video about this, but I felt the devil. You can say saw the devil as well, but felt the devil. And this was after moments of escaping. I had broken up with an ex I got really along with, had a good connection with, found another girl. I thought I was actually into her, but it was just a rebound, unfortunately. I hadn't done the internal work, and just meeting her, it gave me an excuse to let go. So she introduced me to the world of house music, which is, for the most part, people don't even like the music. They kind of just go there to take drugs. That's what I noticed. That's a different topic entirely. But I got into the music, and then that was just an escape for me to begin to heavily just get lost in that scene. And that was the most that I began to experiment with, like, really drugs. And I had friends at the time that were telling, like, they were concerned because I was essentially just wanting to go to every event, wanting to see this person because I wasn't fulfilled within. And just every time I saw her, it was an excuse to basically just get lost, take drugs and just get lost in that scene. And after a time you realize it's not even you doing that. That's the thing. Like, there was one lyric that I remember the weekend saying, like, when I'm fucked up, that's the real me. That makes, like, that's the extent. That is the extent of how far you can lose yourself, to the point where you believe a substance is allowing you to be your true self, authentic self. Your true authentic self is your spirit. It always has been. But what clouds it is the vices you have. The drinking, smoking, the drugs. Think of it like a seed that's in a pot, and the more soil you put on top of it, the more you're able to see that seed. I had this analogy better in my head yesterday, but I try to comprehend here. But the more things you have on top of it, vices, bad habits, things that don't cause you to connect, are things you have to remove. And it's anybody I've had to explain this to, basically I just say that it's a process of removal. Society will tell you that it's about adding, or you could do what you're doing now and it's fine, but add more. But it's all removing the things that disconnect you from your spirit. Like, that's literally the whole game. And vices is number one. Drinking just disconnects you, and it's just like a bridge to basically just play with the devil. Like, the devil being any kind of feeling he's making you chase. Prime example, like the concert yesterday, I was enjoying it sober, of course, but there was people that I saw, them drinking was a catalyst to them having a whole different experience of how they would if they were sober. And it's something that is very normalized in society, and something I've experienced with drugs. And like I said, I thankfully understood that it wasn't me, that I was losing myself. But it's so normalized. Like, it's so normal in society, if you think about it, for everyone to drink. Weed is a new one in Canada. It's illegal now. It's legal to literally smoke weed. And, that substance literally just numbs you out. It makes you slow. And like I said, that lyric stuck with me because no substance, or you depending on a substance, is a real you. It makes absolutely no sense. If people sing that lyric and they believe it, especially when you're young, you're like, yeah, because you have no confidence and you think a substance allows you to be the real you. But what it does is unstifles you from thinking, which is allowing, your spirit, because it's disconnected you, but it's allowing a more authentic spirit, authentic you to come out. And authenticity is the highest vibration. Even though you're intoxicated, whatever it is, it's not really authentic you, but it causes you to not think. And if you realize that's the reason why you drink, And if you realize, not thinking is the message I'm trying to spread. When you drink, you inebriate your brain literally from thinking. It basically just turns off parts of your brain. And that's why people say when I'm fucked up, that's the real me. You know, it's because they're not thinking. And when you're living in spirit, you're not thinking. So basically just goes to show that whatever vice you're taking right now is because you don't want to think, and you're not supposed to think. And when you do the right habits and you don't basically succumb to the control that your mind is, you don't succumb to the control that your mind is trying to give you with thinking, then that's when the whole game basically reveals itself. So that is why I'm on the journey, because you can do this naturally. You don't need to go to any kind of event, you know, wait for the weekend to happen, hate your reality, go to, you know, go with a bunch of friends, start drinking, start doing drugs, so you don't think, you just feel. You can do that sober. That's basically the journey I'm on now. Like, this isn't me talking, this is God talking through me. And before I would be on camera and try to think and, oh, like, what do I say to these people? Like, what is my target market? Like, you know, all these things that inhibit you from literally acting and being your authentic self. This is me authentically. I'm not thinking, I'm just speaking. It's 5 a.m. I slept 4 hours, and you know, you can say I don't have energy to think. But that's the whole point. That's the whole point with living through spirit, is we've been programmed to overthink, to think, to control. And if you think about it, when you were a kid, or see a kid or a child, it's a perfect creation of God, because they don't think. They have no fear. Fear is caused by thinking. They're simply spirit. They're simply the purest form of energy. They're the purest form of abundance, of possibility. But with time, you know, adults telling them this, that, they get consumed by fear. And the best quote I heard is, a child is a perfect creation of God, and an adult is a perfect creation of the devil. Because, like I said, the devil is only present in the mind. It's not something you can see per se. You can't see the devil. It's not someone with horns, a red, like, you know, they try to instill in movies and stuff like that. It is an energy, but it lives in the mind. It's not real, but people still believe it because they believe in fear, the fear that they're, you know, living in their minds. And faith is the same thing. You could say it's not real, but it's actually the most real thing. The real thing, because, you know, it's not something you see, but something you feel. And more people choose to believe in fear than faith. But the point is, when I myself was living in that fear, I knew it wasn't real to an extent, but I had to lose myself to the point where I saw the devil and how he was using me. And I basically, you know, compared to seeing, it's almost like your life flashed before your eyes, but I just saw almost like when you're on a roller coaster and you're at the top and you look down. The best way I could explain it was me looking down and not seeing tracks. So you see like a 90-degree angle, but you don't see tracks. You just see basically you falling off a cliff, more or less. And that was the moment of realization that I had when I said, this isn't for me. And that was God giving me a message, because there's some people I may know personally that are still down that road and don't have that ability to feel regret. And regret is literally God guiding you. Any moment you've had, you know, regret to the point where you're so disappointed in yourself, I've had this to the point that you almost like want to walk away from yourself, if that even makes sense. That is literally God coming into your conscious and telling you and guiding you away from where the devil is leading you. Because when you're lost in these vices, you're lost in escaping, you're not grateful, you're not at peace, you're not in joy with the moment or whatever's happening, you're literally walking with the devil. The devil has you in his pocket, and he's walking with you to wherever he wants to lead you, which is nowhere. It's to destruction, and it's to a place where it kills your spirit. And like I said, the vices are the catalyst to this. That is why no vices is the key. Not even a sip of alcohol, because it's the bridge to the devil. It's literally, there's no balance to vices. You can't, I just take I have a little wine here, on the weekends. No, it's no vices. It's not no puff of any kind of joint, no puff of any kind of cigarette or joint or whatever it is. Like nothing that can basically be a bridge to your ego coming into play, because your ego is the devil. Like, it's literally the devil, and it's what makes you do decisions that aren't even yourself. It's like I said, who you are is your spirit. That is all you are. Everything else is an illusion that makes you think it's you. Your ego is basically a facade. It's an alter ego that's not real. And I can tell you this because I've lived in ego for years. Like I said, chasing women, chasing lust, thinking I was bigger than I am because I slept with some girl, or got some experience another guy couldn't, and your ego tells you, oh, I'm better than this person because this happened, or I got this experience. It's all bullshit, man. It's crazy how literally it's all an illusion. But people, especially men, continue to live in that illusion. And basically the best thing is measuring ego, like who has the most this or most experiences. It's literally like, if you see it from a third eye view, if you see God looking down, he's like, what are you guys doing, man? It's all an illusion. And sometimes you have to go through that, but I'm trying to be an example, especially with the picture you saw yesterday. Like, think how much ego I have to be in to think that I am close enough to the weekend to take a picture like that with a girl, and basically in my head think I am a celebrity that has actually put in work into a craft. But I can take a picture with somebody and think I'm living their life. Like, think about how crazy that is. But that's essentially the point you can get to when you let your ego go unchecked. And 99% of the world lives in ego. 99% of the world is lost in chasing everything. Money is basically seen as the objective, so everyone's chasing money. They're doing things they don't even want to do. Their vices, they work for money, and then wait for the weekend to indulge in their vices: drinking, drugs, smoking, gambling, lust. Lust is the biggest one, the final boss. But these are things that people just do, and it's seen as normal. It's like, for men, who can get the most girls, who can make the most money. For women, it could be, who gets the most validation on social media, who has the richest, tallest, good-looking man. Like, it's all ego. It's all things that acquiring. Who can acquire the most? Who can be seen with being, having the most? It's all simply fear. It's fear of looking like someone that has less things, but people are willing to sacrifice their peace to look like they have more, or have more status, or whatever it is. And when you realize that it's all a game to it's all a game of illusion, you realize that the hardest thing isn't actually acquiring, it's letting go. And it's because you have to go against the world when you're letting go. The world tells you to acquire. Oh, what are you doing now? Oh, what have you done lately? Who are you dating now? How much, how's your business going? How much money are you making? These are all questions you get asked because everyone wants to know how much you've acquired in the worldly things. All these bugs, Jesus. But like I said, it's a game of letting go, because that's where you find who you truly are. You don't find who the fuck you are chasing everything. That is you listening to the devil and saying, okay, I'm lack, so let me chase this thing that tells me I'm somebody, or something, because I have whatever it is, this Could be anything, you know. I made this amount of money per month, or I have this relationship now, or I have this business, or I have this car, or I have these clothes, I have this house. This is all you adding something to the picture and thinking that is who you are. Who you are is when you remove everything. Not everything, because you still need things to live, but everything that you're attached to, and you start to basically see, okay, who is Daniel? And Daniel is everything that from the world that has to be removed, that you don't need. But there's many things that you're chasing right now that you don't really need. Money, of course, you need. Relationships, to an extent, you need as well. But there's many things that you need, that you think you need in excess that you don't need. And you know, it's when you start to remove these attachments to these things that your spirit, you know, as long as you're not doing the vices, which is the key part, starts to actually blossom. You actually see, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. I wasn't put here to just chase money like every fucking person, or do something for a result like every person. The results come as a consequence of who you are. So that is why I've gone this journey, because like I said, with your vices, you're looking to do the same thing I'm doing, but I'm doing it sober. You know, you're looking to, you know, be the real you, or be an authentic you, or be someone that doesn't think. But you can do that naturally with proper habits and staying away from the things that get you an ego or make you think it's about acquiring something. If you're feeling like shit right now, like I felt like shit probably 8 months ago, because I was just chasing money, and I thought if I get money, I can finally feel that feeling I want to have, which is freedom. By the way, freedom is not financial, it's spiritual. But I thought, okay, if I get money, I can finally feel this way. But like I said, that's a feeling you can get only spiritually. You can't, someone that's feeling like shit and you give them $100,000, they're not going to magically just like, oh fuck, I'm free now. Oh, I can go and buy. No, it's just more, it's actually, you actually fuck them up, you destroy them, because you give them more fear of now losing that money, because they started with fear of not having enough. So the fear is still there, it just translates to something else you add on top of it. So when they say financial freedom is real freedom, no, it's spiritual freedom. So, but number two is, if you're operating in a place where you feel like shit, where you don't like what you're doing, but you're doing it for a result, and you're pushing, like, oh yeah, when I get the result, then I'll feel a different way. That is the devil literally guiding you, putting you in his pocket and saying, yeah, let's go this way. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, let's go get the money. Let's feel like shit and go get the money. And then, you know, it's promising you a feeling of this like relief or like euphoria of like, oh fuck, I finally made the money. Now I can go buy those things, and like, oh, I'm free now. If you're not spiritually free, or a point where you don't even need the money, and it's just a result of you doing something you actually enjoy, and you're operating and feeling good, then that's when the money will come, and you'll actually be at peace with the money. Like I said, if you give someone money that's operating like shit, feeling like shit, they're just gonna operate worse and now be in fear, because without that feeling of the money that you give them, then they know they're gonna feel worse. So like I said, when I realized it was about the way I was operating and not what I was missing, that's when everything like really changes. So I wanted to send this long message because, you know, I've been where most of, I would say, the West is at, where they're chasing something because the status quo is to, you know, chase money or chase a relationship or whatever it is. But I realized that me getting closer to it was making me feel better. It's actually making me feel worse. And then, you know, thankfully, God gave me regret and shame and the vices I was doing, so that I removed that, and that just made me feel better already. And then I removed something I was doing for money, which wasn't even me. It was something that I was doing because I thought it was fast money. I mentioned this before, I was doing OnlyFans management. But there's people that can do that. There's people that can, you know, go and do something for money and live that way. But for me, and I say to people that are chosen, by God to do something bigger, you can't live that way. Your conscience would literally tear you up. And like I said, I mentioned this before, but there was times I didn't want to get up. I literally got out of my bed because I knew I was doing something that was not aligned with something that was good for the world. So like I said, there's some people that can work for money, and for me, unfortunately, it's you're working for the devil. But if you right now have something calling you, regrets inside you because you're doing the wrong things and you feel like shit, then God is choosing you. Literally, God is choosing you. You can decide to listen and go against the whole world. Like I said, the whole world is chasing and working for the devil essentially because they don't know who they are. They haven't removed enough or suffered enough to know who the fuck they even are. But when you go against the whole world, that is when you'll realize who you can actually be. And like I said, if God is guiding you away from these things, vices, or chasing money or doing something for money that doesn't sit well with you or is not actually your true calling, then that is God literally saying, I want you to go down this path, and He's trying to prepare you. So it's either you listen to that or don't, and keep having the devil have you in his pocket and just guiding you to wherever he thinks he wants to guide you to, and then he'll just drop you off, let you go, and then that's where shit happens. That's where your destruction happens. So that is the regret that I felt and the shame I felt was, now I see God speaking with me, and it takes courage to accept the calling. It's not something you just wake up and start doing. It's the road to heaven feels like hell, and the road to hell feels like heaven. The reason why that saying is there and it's present is because it's true. It takes suffering to be the person that God wants you to be. It's so easy, like I said, to live for the devil and just do things for results, for money. For some people it's easier. For me, I can't do it. My conscience will not let me do it. But for some people, like I said, they can work for money happily, buy their car, have a body that looks like shit. They're just eating whatever they want, and they're just happily going, and that's their life. And they're like, they live for the devil, and it's cool. But there's people, like I said, that are chosen to get called for something bigger through their conscience, giving them shame and regret for things that they're not supposed to be doing because they're meant to suffer and be something bigger. Then those are people that have a harder path. But the hardest path will always lead to the most light. So if you're in darkness right now and something is telling you it's not the way, it's because it isn't the way. And it's about removing the things that the world tells you to add and keep in your life. And that is when actually the true magic happens. When you can start to go towards a path where you're not thinking, actually operating in ego, actually being free, literally being free. You can be free with no money in your account, or you can be free with millions of dollars in the account, but it's not the money or the number in your account. It's where your spirit is at. It's if you're free from some kind of results or some kind of, basically dependency on a result. That is when you're free. When you're free of any kind of outcome, and you can actually live in spirit. So that is the message I want to leave you guys with for especially Friday, because it's when most people's vices start. Think about how you feel day to day. If you removed all the vices, if you removed the partying, all these things that the world tells you is fine to have in balance, try doing that for 30 days at least. Remove alcohol, remove any kind of vice, and see where you sit with yourself. And that is the starting point. That's the foundation. And then from there, it's about getting right with that person, being grateful for that person, for the life that person has. And your experiences until now, and God will guide you. He will guide you as soon as you let go and stop trying to add in fear, because the world tells you to add this and that and this. It's all out of fear. So that is the message. And yeah, if you're chosen, God will make your life a bit harder, but it's worthwhile.